In the next demo, we are going to work with if and else, and then we're going to bring in multiple conditions as well. So using an if statement, we can change the flow of the execution of our application. Instead of just executing statement after statement after statement, we can basically diverge into multiple, let's say, branches within our code. And this can be, let's say, pre-programmed, or it could also be that it is decided based on what the user has entered that a different branch is followed. And that's what I'm going to show you here. So assume that we are registering a new candidate for Bethany Spy Shop, and we need to have the age of the employee again. And I'm going to assume that the user is a good user and just enters a passable value, so a value that can actually be passed into an int, and that will be saved here in this age variable. I'm going to start by creating the first if statement here, and I'm going to check, again, using an expression, if that value is less than 18. So if the value is in fact less than, smaller than 18, let's say, then I'm going to write to the console a message saying that person is too young to apply. If that age is higher than 18, well, then basically we're good to go. Notice in this if-else statement, I'm including an else. That is, of course, not necessary. So if the age is less than 18, this part is executed. Otherwise, this part is executed. Also note that I haven't included any curly braces here, nor for the if block, nor for the else block, because it is just one line. Now, omitting the curly braces can indeed only be done if we have just one statement. So for example, say that we also need to send an email to this candidate, and we have a second statement. This will give an error because now we basically have an else that doesn't have a corresponding if, and you see the red squiggly already appearing in Visual Studio. I need to surround this block here with curly braces, and now we can include as many statements that are only executed if the age is less than 18. And in fact, even though this else only has one statement, I will also include the curly braces. I'm typically a fan of always including them because often you will come back to the code and you will need to add them anyway. And I think adding the curly braces here also makes the code more readable. So now we're only checking if the age is lower than 18. If I also want to check if the age is higher than 65, I also have a condition I want to check. And I cannot pass that to the else block. I need to use the else if in that case. Again, my else if is followed by a set of brackets, and I'm going to check if the age is above 65. I'm going to continue what I've done here. I'm going to include curly braces, and I'm going to write something to the console. So in the else if block, we also need to include a condition. So let's run the application and see the result. So I'll be a good user and will enter a valid age. So I'll enter 25. And then it says here, great, you can now start with the application, so the age has been validated. That means that it didn't fall into this bucket, it also didn't fall in this bucket, so we hit the else block in this case. Now just to finish this demo, I also want to point out that it is not of course required to use only integers in combination with ifs. We can use just any expression that evaluates to a Boolean value, so true or false. Here I'm using, for example, a date time. I'm going to check if the day, so the day of the month that is, of today's date is the 20th. If that's the case, well then we hit this console write line. In the else if block I'm using the logical AND operator. I'm going to check that if the day is higher than 25 and the end of month payments haven't started, then I need to show something on the console as well.